last-minute shakeup at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning ride is okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as simple as 1, 2, 3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
what's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
Well, hello there, listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of the Better Than Fine podcast. I'm your host, well-being expert and wellness coach, Darlene Marshall, and I think it is fair to say that most of us, maybe not all of us, right, because not everything works for everyone all the time, but most of us would like a crystal ball, at least about some things when it comes to life. My dad would really love to know if the Bills are going to win this weekend because he's gunning for a Bills Super Bowl. I wouldn't mind knowing if the fertility treatments that I'm going to be starting this spring would work. That would be a nice relief to the old stressor. And anybody who works in fitness, I think we can agree we would love nothing more than a leg up on whatever the next hot trend is going to be, because then we could shape and mold our business and get out in front of it. Because frankly, that is often the name of this game. In addition to integrity and ethical practice and being qualified and all the other stuff, is what's the next big thing? Well, I couldn't get you a crystal ball, but I did find you the next best thing. She started in fitness coaching over 16 years ago. She spent 10 years at the Idea Health and Fitness Association. And just last year, this absolutely incredible, inspirational, exceptional entrepreneur, I've been so impressed as I have gotten to know her better, launched Coach360. Which, if you're a fitness professional and you haven't gone to check out Coach360 News, you're going to want to go check out Coach360 News. There is a ton of resources there. They are building a community there. There's a bunch of cool stuff going on over at that website. I'm sure you're going to hear a whole bunch about it in this episode. Kathleen Ferguson, our personal crystal ball CEO and founder of Coach360. Welcome to Better Than Fine.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today, Darlene.
Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us.
And to be compared to a crystal ball.
You're my personal crystal ball. I mean, it was that or for me to gush for like 90 seconds straight about how I think that you are one of the most gifted networkers I have met in a long time. I picked up on that like the moment I met you. I was like, oh, this woman knows how to like meet people, make them feel welcome, make them feel valued, and bridge gaps. You've got a plan. You've got a master plan.
I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, I think that's why many of us get into this industry, right? We like to connect with others and learn about people. And we have a genuine curiosity about people's journeys and paths.
Yeah, well put. I think you're onto something there about whether we're talking about fitness coaching or we're talking about other types of coaching, whether we're talking about personal training, wellness coaching, that it's people, right? We get into this business to help people. And as much as when we talk about the business of coaching, we're talking about business, sure, but it is like the business that keeps us in business so we can keep helping people, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're in the business of fitness, you're in the business of relationships.
Dig it. So you have been in the business of fitness for quite a long time, at a pretty high level for a long time, right? Like, I think there's people who are in club one-to-one, they're 15 years into their career, but that's not where you stayed, right? You've got this kind of elevated viewpoint. So could you paint a picture for us in the time that you've been in the industry and you've seen it evolve? What do you think that evolution looks like? Because I often think that for the people who are just like looking for the next hit trend, they don't understand the momentum and the trajectory that got us here. And I feel like you have to understand that in order to really talk about the future of coaching.
Yeah, I mean, the evolution, I mean, you know this better than anyone working, so closely with NASM. I mean, the evolution right now in terms of kind of trends in coaching is that there is a massive shift right now from, just being so focused on the fitness aspect of health, fitness, and wellness. What does it really mean to be well and healthy these days? And consumers are now looking to coaches to understand, how do I don't want to just look better, right? I don't want to just, kind of lean out and get muscles. I want to feel better. How do I live my life feeling like my best self? And that incorporates, everything. It's mind, body, and spirit. So that's why we're seeing such a shift in trends for coaching and education to wellness coaching. We're seeing fitness coaches become life coaches, because personal and professional goals go hand in hand. If you're at a low vibration in one area of your life, you're likely going to be in a low vibration in other areas of your life as well. So we're seeing, really a fully comprehensive approach to how consumers want to be addressed in terms of their health, fitness, and wellness. And it's not even just that. It's, how do we craft a personalized approach to that health, fitness, and wellness, and put them on their path to their best selves. So I think, the evolution is a comprehensive approach, and we're seeing that in trends in education and how advanced education is evolving as well.
Yeah, I obviously I'm like the poster child for that, right? Like you're singing my song for sure. And I know, like, the time that I've been in the industry, which is not, I'm a few years behind you. I can remember when I first became a baby trainer back in 2012 into 2013, my fitness manager thought I was bonkers and maybe a little bit outside of my scope of practice for teaching my clients how to meditate. And I really had to, isn't that wild?
You're ahead of the curve.
Well, you know me.
Such a trendsetter.
No, I mean, not at the time. At the time, the other trainers were like, who is this hippie?
Sure.
And next week's episode, we're going to be talking about, like, the gut microbiome and inflammation. And a lot of the stuff in that episode is like, 12 years ago, everyone thought we were nuts for talking about the relationship between the gut and the brain, and now we have a name for it.
Sure.
And I think you hit the nail so clearly on the head, again, because I think you have a pulse on the industry, that people, even, I don't know if you're seeing this too, even fitness professionals who have previously been aesthetics focused, they get to a burnout place in their career, and they're then circling back and they're like, teach me this wellness stuff.
Right.
Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I mean, the burnout is real. Just to speak to that piece,
please.
I think when I started as a coach, it was, how many sessions can you train each day? And it's, it wears on you. Obviously, anyone that's, been a personal trainer can speak to that. But now we're seeing, this evolution to, okay, well, how can we hybridize this profession, right? And we're seeing, the trainerpreneur, as I call them, where they can, come in and they can, really be, build a sustainable business, outside the club and studio, as well as go to the club and studio and teach a few classes, or run some sessions, personal training sessions, and, really hybridize their profession so that they're not burning out, and they can, create a career that is impactful and sustainable financially. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. But yes, the burnout is absolutely real. We hear about it all the time. And that's why so many coaches come to Coach360 to try and understand, okay, well, great, I can work in a club and studio. I love working in a club and studio because it is that community piece. It's that energetic piece where, I really get my cup full from, coaching, all of these people, whether it's in group fitness or, one-to-one. But, in order to avoid the burnout and not be, training 24/7, maybe I could become a wellness coach and have, a group where I, coach 12 individuals on how to feel better, or women's health is another category that obviously we're seeing explode right now. People wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole 16 years ago when I started. Nobody was talking about your cycles and cycle syncing with exercise. There were no apps to tell you when you should recover. So I think now that, there's so many different paths for education that these coaches can take, they can, really maximize, what they can, give back to their clients in the form of, in-person and, kind of outside the studio coaching with all these different modalities and formats and, advanced education that we have now.
Yeah, you touched a few real quick key things. Obviously, I just want to call out like anybody who hears this hybridization is interested in wellness coaching. Obviously, NASM has the certified wellness coaching course. I was a major
Yep.
contributor on that. You should check that out if this sounds like something you want to get it on. But you also, you and I have talked before about this evolution of the fitness professional into a lifestyle professional. We talked about the evolution of the coach into the coach creator.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're ready to speak to this idea? Because I think you had such a good language for this concept of coach creator, where you're more than just parroting some information that you heard, right? It's so much more than that now for the person that's able to make this their career.
Sure. And if I recall the conversation accurately, I think we were talking about how there's a shift from, this idea that everyone needs to be an influencer. And, there's just people that are, kind of pushing, hundreds of different products. Whereas now we're seeing that shift from the coach to being thought of as an influencer on Instagram to now being a creator. And they're able to really become passionate advocates for the products and services that they work with. And they become a trusted source of information education for the customer end user. So I think, in terms of, kind of influencer to creator, we're just definitely seeing that shift because now it's more about, these coaches creating, education and courses that they can, give to their consumers. And again, that's an extension of themselves, on the gym floor and being able to, really maximize their presence and become a comprehensive solution for their customer base. I think people are starting to, get a little bit wary of, the word influencer. As I'm sure you know.
I know.
It's almost, I mean, it's definitely kind of taken on like a negative connotation over the past few years. It used to be the thing. And, people are, shifting to creators because at the end of the day, these coaches, these trainers, these creators, and these people are at the front lines of the obesity epidemic and chronic disease. And, they really want to educate and be the guides to people's healthy living. So, it's important to, really make that distinction between influencer and then someone that's actually a creator that, is an educated professional that is taking an active approach to, guiding their clients to health and wellness.
Yeah, I want to speak into this space of influencer to creator because I am someone who, when people started using the word influencer to describe me in casual conversation, I think I broke out in hives. They're like, "Oh, well, you're an influencer." I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Well, you kind of are. Just kidding.
But I'll take content creator any day. My first degree was in acting and costume technology. Creating things goes way back.
Oh,
I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with those ideas. But to me, an influencer is someone who I'm going to put my life up and then I'm just going to try to sell whatever I can sell to make money through the product recs and the cross posts and the ads, right? I think of like the Kardashians and trying to have that, like, I have a highly aesthetic lifestyle and it is just, don't you want to be like me? To me, that's the influencer.
Sure.
It's about them where I personally, and I think I know a lot of people who are like this, who are in our field, it is about the people we're trying to help. And to me, this coach creator evolution that you're talking about is I'm not trying to make my life look super aesthetic. Like, yes, I have a pretty bookshelf with a bunch of Wonder Woman stuff, but like, yeah, pretty bookshelves are nice and it makes me feel good. I'm not saying don't you want to be like me? I'm saying, don't you want to be a fulfilled version of yourself that lives well in a lifestyle that works for you? And I think this creator evolution that you're alluding to is the person who is giving people tools and information in the way you're talking about, and it's about them. Does that make sense?
It does. And, I think that the way that these creators are resonating with their audience is just a shift to authenticity. We're not sharing the highlight reel anymore. I mean, we are, some people are, but they're also sharing challenges and obstacles and, the bumps and twists and turns on the path to, where they are today. And I think that's what is the connector piece, right? That's where people, actually they feel, connected to these creators that they're watching and they're learning from. And that's really important because, that's how people can, really relate to, who they're learning from.
Amen to that, right? Like we started with human connection, we'll return to human connection. You're listening to the Better Than Fine podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Marshall, and my guest today is Kathleen Ferguson, the CEO and founder of Coach360 News. We are talking about the future of coaching, the future of fitness. Where is this wellness, fitness, conglomerate, trainer, fit pro, coaching thing we all do? Where's it going? Let's return back to this human piece, because I think we're really on to something, this like human connection element. And partly I want to talk about this with you because of what I said earlier. I think that you're such a connector, such a networker. This is a time that people are struggling with loneliness even more. Even if you're hybrid, you're still virtual sometimes. Like my husband is a hybrid trainer and he'll spend time virtual. He's away from his clients. And I think that we've had this shift where there are lots of people who think like, oh, I'll just be a virtual trainer. I'll just work remote. I'll be remote to my clients. And it is really different. So can you speak to a bit about why does that personal touch matter? Because I know I noticed, especially in like 2020, 2021, we saw the advent of these, I'm going to put this in air quotes, like training platforms where I would do, trainers would do a consult with their client. I didn't do this. Trainers would do a consult with their client. Once they'd done the consult, they didn't have live contact. They were just writing a program, getting asynchronous videos, and there was no personal touch to it. And I think it really loses something. Can you speak a bit to the guidance that you would want to give those trainers? Where do you think that is going for our industry right now?
Yes, absolutely. I think the rise in AI is something everyone's talking about, but AI is never going to replace a coach, in my opinion. The health and fitness coach is essential to keeping consumers and clients healthy and fit. And they are the accountability piece. They are the human touch piece, not the robot or the AI. It's that human to human connection that gets people up in the morning to go do their workout, and people show up at their studios to be with their community. They show up for that rock star instructor or coach that motivates them and inspires them, and that someone that they can relate to. They show up for that. So, I think AI absolutely helps to create programs and, ease of communication for a lot of things in terms of coaching and training. But no, it's not going to replace the human touch. And we need to have health and fitness professionals in this industry. We have to really look at, how we're attacking the churn issue that's going on right now, which is now 80% within 2 years' time. It's a massive, massive issue because not only are we, kind of losing these fitness professionals out of the industry, these people who are passionate. That's why they get into this industry, right? None of us come in here as a coach because we want to make $1 million. We come in here because we want to help people and we need purpose in our lives. That's why we're here. And, if these people are continuing to churn out, it's not only affecting, their customers that they're coaching, on a one-to-one level, but look at what's happening with the staffing. Like clubs and studios can't keep staff. They're replacing their staff 100% on average every single year. And that's a big problem for the millions of consumers in the United States and globally that depend on them for their health and well-being. So I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, soapbox away, because you preach on your soapbox. We love soapboxes here because I'll get on mine now. I couldn't help but laugh because I used to tell my baby trainers on their first week when I would do their orientation that like nobody gets into being a trainer because they want to be a millionaire. And you just said it too. You get into training because you want to help people and you have to be able to make a living. Right. And so you talked about burnout in the industry. And I remember when I got into the industry, I was 27. I was like middle age of the, like right over the hump of the bell curve of the age of the trainers at my club. And every other trainer my age had been in it for years. And there was that thing of like, oh, aren't you a little old to be like a new trainer at 27? But I think it's because the grind of what the way that the financial incentive of the industry was structured for so long was a way that wore people out. And my hope, and I think you have a better pulse on this than I do, my hope would be that clubs, boutiques, gyms are starting to pick up on that, like, people can't make a living. And if you can't make a living, you can't make a career. And I remember almost all of the other women in my age group at the gym I was at a high volume, one of the busiest gyms in the world at the time. They all stopped menstruating. Like the trainers the female trainers who were making a living at it, none of them got their periods, because the stress of being like a full-time trainer at that club, you had such a high bar to clear that they would stop menstruating. So you tell me, do you think that the club owners, the boutiques, that they are picking up on the fact that they were hurting their staff and we're supposed to be the ones that teach well-being?
Yes. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that there needs to be support from kind of the club and studio owner and operator side on helping the coach become more successful. I think one of the number one issues with coaches trying to start careers in the industry is that there is no guidance and development. And they get a job. My first day on the job on a gym floor in Coronado, California, I remember just having been certified and getting on the floor and just being told to sell. I'm like, okay, what does it mean? Like, what does that mean exactly? And there's just no guidance and development. So I think that these clubs and studios that actually take the hand of their coaches, instructors, and show them, okay, well, here's a path to, how you can evolve either within this organization or as a trainer. They're going to be the ones that are going to have the ability to retain their employees a lot longer and, really, be able to help their coaches make a career out of coaching and training, whatever that looks like. I mean, everyone's path when they start as a coach looks a little bit different, of course. Mine's very diverse. There's others that have, ended up going onto the corporate side of the club and studio they work for. So it's a little different for everybody. The other shift that I'm seeing that I thought was really interesting, because I'm working with so many of these clubs and studios now, onboarding their jobs. We're seeing some of these boutique fitness studios actually tell their instructors, hey, we support your independent business ventures. If you want to, be a wellness coach, or if you want to be a macro counting coach, go for it. We support you in your ventures to do that and to really grow as a coach and as a trainer. Because what they figured out is that these rock star coaches who have these outside independent thriving businesses, guess where they bring their clients to work out? Right inside that studio. So they're figuring out that, hey, there's ways that we can support each other, as coaches and as clubs and studios to really, kind of maximize our business efficiencies, bring in more clientele, make the coach more successful, and show these coaches a way to build a sustainable career and stay in this industry and avoid the churnout rate that's so high right now.
And be a partner to the fitness professional instead of treating them like they're a dime a dozen.
Exactly.
Which was part of my experience.
Yeah. And I mean, on the flip side of that, Darlene, we've talked to other clubs and studios, and I won't name names, that have actually told us, listen, we don't want our coaches to find out how to be more successful, because if they do, they're going to leave us. And we don't work with those people.
Amen.
Because we're here to support coaches in growing their business and being successful, because we understand how important they are. And quite frankly, I believe they're the superheroes of our industry. They're the unsung heroes for sure. But we need to empower them so that they can thrive, because they are critical to our industry's success.
I would argue we are the industry at its front leading edge, right? Like nobody's helping clients if nobody's helping clients.
Right. Absolutely.
You're listening to the Better Than Fine podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Marshall, and my guest is Kathleen Ferguson. And we are talking about the future of not just coaching, but fitness in general now. We've broadened our aperture, and I'm all here for it. I was very lucky early career. I had incredible mentors. I was at a club that was really dedicated to the kind of nurturing you're talking about. And at the same time, it was also a club that is doing exactly what you described then, still now. And it's part of why I'm not there. And it's part of why my husband no longer works there. And I know almost all of the exceptional practitioners that I worked with have all left, because exactly what you're talking about. There was no desire for any kind of independence. And the assumption was always that if you started to build an outside business, that you were just going to siphon off your clients from the club and like poach clients. And it created this tension between the club and the practitioner, because it was an assumption that you were somehow like bad for trying to just cover your bills. Because again, they were paying you at a level, they were working you at a level that everybody burned out at some point, including me. I had a really bad burnout episode 8 years into my career. And I don't, through tooth and nail did I remain in the industry. And it was just because it was such a passion for me and I didn't want to leave my clients, and I didn't know who I was if I wasn't doing this work. That's the only thing that kept me in. And I think there's a lot of people, kind of like acting, where it's like, if you had any other option, would you do this to yourself? If it's that kind of industry, we have to decide that we don't want to do that anymore.
Sure. I remember trying to get out of fitness for a moment when COVID hit. Trying. Yep. I went to the chemical space for just a minute, and I realized quickly that it was not for me. There is one thing professionally that fills my cup, and it's health, fitness, and wellness. It's this industry. It's it can be a wild ride, but most people are truly here because they're so passionate about helping others. And for me, there's just no other place that I could be. So it's funny that you brought up the acting analogy, though. I was a theater major, right?
No, I didn't know.
Did we talk about this?
If we did, I don't recall. So forgive me.
Another one of those professions where it's like,
yep.
Do you want to make money?
Because you're probably not going to hear.
Yes.
But I also thought like, okay, grad school, going to get my master's degree, going to leave fitness. And I think I've been extraordinarily lucky. And I always like to just give a nod to like, yes, hard work matters, but also just luck, sheer dumb luck, that I get to now bridge the gap of those two spaces. And when you talk about like, evolving wellness into the industry, and what does real education look like, and what is wellness actually about? What does it mean to be well? There is a field for that, my friends. It's called positive psychology. And if you want to look at real frameworks, which is also, again, this wasn't meant to be a big ad for CWC, but like that is what Certified Wellness Coach was built into. So I was lucky to get to bridge the gap, but no, I didn't get to leave either. I tried, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up about Certified Wellness Coach, because it is just so relevant right now. We're seeing people taking, weight loss drugs, which is great if that's what they're looking to do to achieve their goals. But I always get so worried when people aren't addressing the wellness component and the behavioral change component that goes along with it. Because what happens when you stop, taking, GLP-1s or weight loss drugs or, some of these other things, I always believe like you really need to, kind of take a deeper look and make sure that you're, working with a coach to guide you in understanding the behaviors that maybe, kind of got you into the situation in the first place, and addressing some of the, kind of the mind, body, spirit connection, in order to set yourself up for that long-term sustainable success.
Yeah. And I'll also add in, thank you for circling back, because you reminded me, you'd mentioned how little support there is for new coaches. NASM also has a course for wellness coaches looking to build a business. So if you are new to this coaching thing and you need some help and support, it is, I'm going to get the name wrong, the Wellness Coaching Business course. I think I said it right. But I, again, had the pleasure of getting to build that out for our baby coaches. So check that out if you're feeling a bit lost in the whole, how do I build an actual coaching business thing? Kathleen, is there anything else? Like, so we're working wellness we're seeing clubs open their aperture on partnership and seeing trainers and coaches and fitness professionals as partners, that they want to build a personal brand, that personal brand is actually beneficial to the facility. what else do you see coming that you think people aren't talking about yet? Like, you heard it here first from Kathleen Ferguson on Better Than Fine. What do you got?
Gosh, there's so much. I mean, we touched on networking. I think we're going to see a return to a different and more evolved and innovative way to network, where we're not going to just see, necessarily a trade show and an expo floor and expect that to be the place where these coaches kind of come together and build community. I'm anticipating a return to event, but in a more curated, experiential way. Today's Gen Z coach really wants to experience something with like-minded individuals. So they don't want to just go to a show and learn about products and services, or even learn about education. I mean, I know education should be the cornerstone, the foundation, but they want to experience education. And so, what does that look like in terms of kind of creating that experience for these kind of, I'm gonna use your term, baby coaches.
Baby coaches.
Baby coaches, the Gen Z that's coming into health, fitness, and wellness coaching and training right now. So, how do we create an experience for them? Because they certainly don't want to spend 3-4 days in an expo hall, or potentially in an education room. The times have changed. They want to experience. They want to feel something and experience something together. And quite frankly, what they want to learn about is very, very different than what I learned about 16 years coming into the industry. Obviously, like, things have evolved so much. They need to know now, how to create content. That's the big one, right? They need to understand how to create content from Canva. They need to, understand how to video edit. There's just so many different things that I think are going to be coming to the forefront in terms of types of education that they need, as well as how they want to experience event. But I do see that people want to come together. They want to network. People understand the power of that. I hear about it all the time from our subscribers. So I think that's what's coming next, is this return to gathering together. We've seen it, rise over the last few years since COVID. It's only happening more, but what does that look like? I think it's going to be quite different.
I'm ready for it. And I could not agree with you more. I didn't know what you were going to say. And heck yes. I think people want something different than just listening. They can get that from home on YouTube.
Sure.
But I also think that people want to feel something, right? They don't want to be passive consumers. It is the essence of experiential learning to have an experience. So you are preach, you're spot on, in my opinion. Like, I didn't know what you were going to say, but I couldn't agree with you more. So we alluded to our baby coaches, our new friends. And I also want to shout out, like, being somebody who came to the industry as I tiptoed up to 30 and feeling I was late to the game. Even if you're a baby coach, that doesn't mean that you're Gen Z, right? You might be a boomer. And I know a couple people who are transitioning into coaching in their 60s and 70s. All are welcome. And I think all can be successful if you find your niche and do your diligence and build your platform and you're smart about your marketing. But you're right. There is so much to try to learn to be able to do that. So what advice would you give to the coaches who are out there trying to run that hustle right now?
The biggest piece of advice that I can offer up is the networking piece. We touched on this a few times, but I have said, and I scream this from the rooftops all the time, I have built my career over the past 16 years on just showing up, be in the room, network, go to as many events as you can, take as many calls as you can with like-minded professionals, whether or not they're a coach or in the same profession that you're in. Take the call, because you never know what that conversation could lead to. And one thing that I always ask people on calls, and I'm sure I probably asked you this, Darlene, how can I support you?
Yes, you do. And it always catches me off guard every time. I'm like, I don't know. I'm used to supporting everyone else.
That's the thing. We all need to support each other, though. We all need to support each other because we all know, being in this industry, especially as a personal trainer, a coach, it's a grind. We're all learning together. And there's opportunity for everyone to be successful. It doesn't have to be competitive. And especially with the women, right? I know the women can tend to get a little bit more competitive, but we can all support each other because we can all win. And I think it's really important to just show up and have that human connection, take the phone call, do as much networking as you can, explore as many education offerings as you can, because you'll be able to better serve your clients if you can address them as a whole person, as opposed to, just the physical.
Yeah. And I'm just going to amplify what you said of like, if you are ethical, if you are educated, if you are people forward and a good communicator, there is enough for everyone to go around. And I can remember being in the club and being made to feel like, oh, well, I'm better than Darlene because and then try to steal my clients. And it's just like, bro, why? Like, culture is something that we create together. And so just amplify and shout out to this idea of like, okay, how can I support you? Which was obviously you supported me supporting you coming on the show. So I appreciate you so much. Where can everyone find you? Because I think they should go find her.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So you can subscribe to our newsletter that goes out weekly, coach360news.com. That will include content with everything that's relevant to health, fitness, and wellness coaching. We touch on it all, especially the business of coaching. You can also, follow us on Instagram. That's Coach360News, LinkedIn as well as Coach360. And yeah, we're going to be having a lot of really cool programs coming up, including top 25 most inspiring coaches. We're putting a little twist on it this year, and so many other things. We want the coaches to have conversation. We want to showcase stories and highlight coaches who are doing incredible things. I can also I'm an open book, you know me. If anyone ever wants to chat, shoot me an email. It's Kathleen@coach360news.com.
And Kathleen goes to pretty much every major fitness industry conference and event, right? Like,
I'll be at Fit Expo.
I'll be
at the Fit Expo. Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll be at Fit Expo. Go find the Coach360 News crew. Go meet Kathleen. Somebody just dropped in chat. I just want to shout it out as we shout out to Michelle in chat, and anybody we live stream at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week on Wednesdays. So if you're listening to this on the recording and you ever want to join us for the live stream, but Michelle just said, over 30 years, I'm still thought of as the hippy dippy crazy yoga, Pilates, dance, fitness personal trainer coach. Welcome, Michelle. You are in great company, my friend.
Yes.
And we take all kinds. So Kathleen, thank you so much for making the time and sharing your wisdom with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And of course, we would absolutely love to hear your feedback. So if you want to send that along, you can email me. It is info@darlene.coach. Find me on Instagram. I'm also darlene.coach, and I'm on LinkedIn. If you're a fan of the show, I hope you subscribed. But if you haven't, please go ahead and do that. Share about the show with anybody else that you think would benefit, because sharing is caring, and it's how we grow. Thank you so much. Take good care of yourselves and be well.